Internet? It's AndrewMycol, and welcome to episode 2 of the AndrewMycol Podcast, where this week we are talking about the predictions going into Hasbro Pulse's Fan First Fridays, this thing where they do it once a month, where they unveil things Hasbro's doing, and including Power Rangers, since Hasbro owns Power Rangers. Now, if you enjoy this podcast, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a like to show YouTube that you enjoy this podcast. Now, let's get into this Hasbro Pulse Fan First Friday, some predictions, and what I think we should be expecting to see. Now, as we all know, Hasbro does their Hasbro Pulse Fan First Friday almost once a month, around the first Friday of the month. We've seen this in April, May, February, January, and so forth and so forth. And basically, this is where Hasbro talks about what the toy lines are coming out, what kind of things are happening show-wise, and that is what I expect to see from Power Rangers as well. I do feel like we are going to get some Lightning Collection news going ahead of what is to come for the next wave of Lightning Collection figures, and also we might also get the release date for the latest wave of Power Rangers Dino Fury toys. Now, I have seen some stuff on Facebook where people were comparing Hasbro and Bandai America. And the reason people were doing that is because Hasbro has been doing good quality-wise in terms of the toys themselves, but in terms of release dates, yeah, Hasbro really hasn't been doing a great job with release dates. And another thing that I've noticed is that comparing Walmart to Target, it really does seem like Hasbro puts a lot of stock into Target, because every time I've been to Walmart, they have a good bit of stuff, a handful of stuff. But when you go to a Target or something like that, they have all sorts of Power Rangers stuff lining a whole section. And I'm just like, that's weird, because normally with Bandai, it'd be like Walmart and Target would have like a set equal amount. But even in 2020, when I would get out of the house and I would just go looking at toy section just because I was bored, I absolutely noticed it with Beast Morphers. Like, there was a whole bunch of toys for Target, like with Power Ranger stuff. It was interesting to see how many things they had and how many like toys for Power Rangers they would have, and like, it was just fascinating to see that. And I think with this Hasbro Pulse Fan First Friday, hopefully we do get a release date on the next wave of toys. I know we are getting the Morpher and all that, but we haven't seen anything about the Megazords. We haven't seen anything about that. I know Amazon sometimes will show that off as well. And if I go looking on Amazon right now, I'm going to look at this to make sure if we hear anything. But that's another thing that again, people talk about it all the time. The one thing that has kept Power Rangers around for so long is, of course, with toys, right? If they don't push toys enough, then it shows that the kids are not going to be able to keep up with it, because there's such a demand for toys, but they don't have the supply to give people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want it to be the other way around. Or I guess somewhat like that. You want to have a good supply, but you also want to have a good demand for Power Ranger toys as well. And toys is the number one thing that keeps Power Rangers around. In fact, toys is what has shown Hasbro that they should stick with Power Rangers. And we talked about this last week. We talked about the state of Power Rangers in 2021. And I said the thing that they should improve on the most in this year alone is the toys, right? We've seen it time after time after time again. There have been seasons of Power Rangers that even TV-wise, they have done not so good. But because of toy sales, it has shown networks like Disney and Saban and Hasbro that, you know, even though sometimes the Power Ranger seasons aren't necessarily great, like with what we saw with Neo Saban with like Megaforce and things like that, especially Super Megaforce. Toy sales for Megaforce were through the roof because of what they did with the Ranger keys, and we also saw that with Gokaiger as well. Anytime we had an anniversary season, basically they were able to market that. They were able to say, look, if you want to get the whole collection of coins, you have to buy all the different sets. You have to buy all the limited collection of decks that are pricier, more than what you would see from standard stuff. And it's just one of those things that I really hope that we get some information about the Power Rangers Dino Fury line, because with the power keys that they have had, and with the power keys they've shown on television, they should be able to market it and be like, hey, do you want to use your favorite power key to be able to be like your favorite Power Ranger in Power Rangers Dino Fury? Then you have to buy these keys in these limited sets. Like you have to buy a 2-pack to get the keys, or you have to get a Ranger figure and maybe a Megazord to get this key figure. And that is what is going to boost the sales of Power Rangers once they get the release dates. But if we haven't heard anything, it's just like I was talking about with the game of Among Us. And if you don't know, I do stream here on YouTube Fridays and Sundays. And one thing I have said is that lack of communication can cause things to go down. It can cause people to just not be interested anymore. When you have a product that you want to market to kids, you have got to put it in front of people. And just like with Power Rangers, you want people to be into Power Rangers, and you want your kids for years to come to talk about Power Rangers, then you're going to have to make the toys to be like, hey, you got to market to these kids and give the kids, the toys and all that. So I'm really hoping that with this Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest that we are getting Friday, I am hoping to see that. Now, obviously, we have seen the red, blue, and pink Ranger with their keys as well. They are $10 a piece. As I am looking at it here on Amazon, there's only one left in stock as well. And like I was saying with the toys, it does seem like toy-wise that they're doing a good job selling these toys to kids and being able to say, hey, we got some toys. But again, they're gonna need to market this for more people. Same thing with the Lightning Collection. We've had a lot of Lightning Collection figures ever since Hasbro took over in 2019. And not 2019, in 2018 when they took over the first half, and then they had the show. The Lightning Collection has done amazingly. Now, there have been some hits and misses, especially with the white Dino Thunder's helmet looking really bad. We have seen so much Lightning Collection stuff. Now, hopefully we do get some more figures with that. I myself really want to get back into the Lightning Collection. It's just, I have not been able to afford to get all the figures, but the quality that they have put towards these figures has been pretty good and pretty solid nonetheless over the times that I have seen this. But again, they're going to have to keep up with the ability to tell people, hey, this is when we're going to release stuff. This is when we're going to release stuff. And we haven't heard anything. And because of the coronavirus, we have seen that with everything, basically. There is just so much demand for stuff that companies are not able to produce it faster like they were able to before the pandemic. And because of the pandemic, that could be another cause, is that they're just not able to make enough toys for the initial wave when they do have this release date. And that is, of course, going to hinder companies like Hasbro and toy companies like Mattel, because they are a huge toy company. But if people are not able to make toys as fast as they should be able to, then it's going to be like a shortage, and it's not going to be good. Now, checking in on the Hasbro stock, I will be checking here. It does seem like they hit 100 earlier today, but that was this morning, and now they've dipped down back to 99. But again, like, if you're into stock markets, it does really seem like you should be getting into Hasbro with stocks. I'm into it as well. And what I will say is that as long as Hasbro is doing good in stocks, it does seem like the company itself isn't going anywhere. And it really does seem like Hasbro has done good economic-wise. And we saw this with games like Monopoly. Like, we saw that because of the coronavirus in 2020, everyone was staying inside. But because people were getting board games to be able to be playing with their family instead of being on their electronics all the time, people were getting board games made by Hasbro like Monopoly. We saw that with Roblox as well, where Roblox was able to do that acquisition or that partnership with Hasbro, and we saw Roblox stock go up as well, and we have seen that as well. And because of that, Hasbro has benefited from this, And again, you would think that a toy company in 2021 would be failing because of the shift in our generation from a lot of our kids getting into toys to a lot of our kids getting into electronic media, right? Like we have seen before, like my generation, early millennials, like in the early 2000s, everyone wanted toys, right? Everyone wanted the latest action figure. Now we've seen in 2010 and the 2020s, everyone's into electronics. Everyone wants to consume digital media, hence why we've seen a rise in streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. And we've also seen this with adults as well, which also begs the question, what are we going to see with Hasbro in 2022 and Netflix? Now, I made a video talking about this in a short, and I do believe that Hasbro might be making a move back to Netflix, which is really odd why they would take off all their legacy stuff if their plan was to go back to Netflix. And I'm like, why would you take the media off of there if you were going to go back to it? Like, why would you take off the media on Netflix if you were going to go back there originally? Now, maybe they were trying to get a deal with Paramount Plus. I don't know, because again, we don't know anything on Hasbro's side, what they're going to do with Power Rangers, and if they're going to move it to a streaming service. Now, obviously, with CBS and with the NFL, if they put Power Rangers on a streaming service like Paramount Plus, you're going to get a whole bunch of new eyes on that product. And again, we got these new influx of writers coming in to help with Power Rangers. It is going to be fascinating to see what they do in 2023. I know a fan of mine that has been talking about this, about the movie in 2023. I am in general trying to see what will they do after the split with Toei. And I know from previously when they first announced the split with Hasbro and with Toei that we are probably going to see a split, and it's going to be very fascinating to see what will Hasbro do. Like, what will they do for a show? What will they do for toys, right? Like, that is what has kept Power Rangers together, and because of the whole MPR nostalgia, right, that is what is keeping Power Rangers together. It goes back to the toys as well, you know. Obviously, Bandai America had good legacy stuff, like with their whole legacy line with MPR, and we saw this with the Dragon Dagger as well. We saw a Power Morpher as well. We also saw like a 1994, 1995, Season 2, Season 3 MPR stuff as well from Bandai America. And Hasbro overall, the only thing they've really done for MPR is, of course, the Season 1 Morpher. They've also had the big Megazord from there. Now, technically, we had the Zeo Megazord, but that kind of was a letdown because it's like they're charging more for the Zeo Megazord, but yet the MPR Megazord can, like, you can put it together, but the Zeo Megazord you cannot, which is kind of a letdown because that's one of the things I liked as a kid. Like, that's kind of why I've liked Bandai Japan as well, because you get a whole lot more articulation with the Zords and with the different little mechas as well. I've noticed that, like, whenever we saw Samurai, one thing I've wanted is to have the individual little Zords I could use and, like, play with them, but instead you had to have, like, these really plasticky looking toys. Same thing with Super Mega Force. Like, it was such a letdown to have the toys and with the Megazord, but come to find out it was all plastic and they couldn't really do much, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a letdown. But when you look at MMPR and you see how successful it was in the 90s, it was such a huge hit with kids, right? It was such a huge hit mainly because of the show, but also because of the toys. Like, people were able to get action figures with those. And again, I say this over and over again, but toys is going to be what keeps Hasbro together. I've seen this on Reddit. I've seen this on Twitter. I've seen this on Facebook. But if Hasbro wants to be successful with Power Rangers, they're gonna have to be more transparent with their toy releases and when these toys come out for their lines, like with Dino Fury, and for more seasons to come. We saw this with Beast Morphers as well, where they were releasing toys, but not at like a rate we would have liked. Like, with at least with Bandai America, they were pushing out toys, but with the increase in online shopping, it does seem like it has become more available to shop online versus trying to go toy hunting at a Target or a Walmart. And again, it goes back to the digital generational shift we have seen from people going to big box stores to going to action figures and now moving online. But again, if Hasbro comes out and says, hey, we got release dates for this, this, and this, I will be happy. Now, I want to know down here in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about the toys? What do you think Hasbro will talk about for the Pulse Fan Fest Friday, this Friday? I will be making a follow-up video, hopefully Saturday, because I'm not going to be able to react to it like as live because I am working Friday, but I will try to have a reaction video / review video of the Hasbro Pulse Fan Fest Friday. So let me know what you think, and also if you enjoy, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and until next time, I'm AndrewMycol, and I will see you in the next one. Go, go, Power Rangers!